Just about to head off to my local charity shop in Clonmel. It's St. Vincent de Paul, so it only opens every second week, but I've got special permission to go in and film because I want to bring you shopping with me to see what I look out for when I'm buying secondhand furniture, and also I want to get a piece of furniture, upcycle it, and then donate it back to St. Vincent de Paul so that they can sell it on again.
So before I left, I was kind of looking for vaguely pieces that I might get something similar to. So this is a piece from Anthropologie. So kind of have this in the back of my mind. It's very difficult to go secondhand furniture shopping and getting exactly what you're looking for, but you can get similar things and you can do similar things to that furniture. So what I was looking for was just a plain piece, something that I really like, a blank canvas. And the St. Vincent de Paul in Clonmel is great because the stock changes quite quickly. This was one of the first pieces that stood out to me. I really liked the shape of it. I liked the legs and everything about it. So it was €50 as well, which is a really good price. I always make sure that I pull out the drawers, make sure that everything's structurally okay. Pull out, look at the back, see is there any woodworm or anything that I need to be worried about. And then on the top section as well, I found a little bit of damage, but it would be easy fix, so it didn't put me off when I was looking at it. And for €50, I thought it was an absolute bargain. Another piece that caught my eye was this kind of mid-century vanity. I'm not going to say table because you can't really sit in underneath it, but storage vanity chest of drawers. It had really nice drawer fronts on it. I like the way they opened with that little cup hook underneath. It was a little bit damaged, but nothing really to worry about too much. And then if you liked the kind of shabby chic look, there was this lovely little piece as well that would have been lovely painted up fresh. These really make brilliant office desks if you just take off the mirror and treat it like an office desk. And then you can use the mirror in somewhere else in your home as well, which I think is quite nice. So there's no like wastage. So that was €40 for that. Like the perfect office desk because they're really long and you can sit underneath them comfortably. Then I thought this chair was gorgeous. Again, not much work that you would need to do to it. And that was 70. Drinks trolleys are great, so you can use them as drink trolleys. They're actually brilliant as well in the craft room if you have your printer on there, and you have a few computers around the house. I think it's absolutely brilliant. There's always in charity shops, you'll always get loads of different kinds of frames as well, which all can be painted and made into a little collection. So it would be the first place I would pop into if I was looking for a frame. They had loads of chairs. I thought this table was absolutely gorgeous, and it was €40. Like really, really good value, and really good quality as well. They have a brilliant range of stuff, and because it opens every second weekend, like every second weekend you go in, there's always new and different things to look at in there. So it's a really good spot if you're local or if you wanted to take a trip. There's always kind of range of lockers as well, and you can always get two different lockers and paint them the same color, and it works really, really well. This unit I thought was really nice as well, really, really nice shape. And I just thought it was like a different kind of size, but could be used for loads of different things as well. So this is the piece that I ended up picking and bringing home. I just really liked. It was the first thing that stood out to me, and usually that's what happens. I buy the first thing that I really like, and I thought it was the best piece to try and dupe this Anthropologie piece as well. So obviously it doesn't have 6 drawers. It's not kind of double the width. It's a taller version of it. But I can bring all those elements into that piece easily, and I'll have a kind of better look at the piece that I brought back and see how I can dismantle it and maybe add extra bits onto it. So this piece is absolutely gorgeous. And the price tag is steep at €2,015. So I'm going to bring all those luxurious elements of that piece into a piece that is €50 to see how I can transform it for this Anthropologie dupe. So we're going to take a look back at the piece that I got. So I'm going to try and remove the top little lip on it so that it's flush, just like the Anthropologie piece. I'm going to change those handles out, and I'm going to change the legs. But first I need to fix the damage. So that little piece of veneer that was on the top is just so easily peeling off that there's no way I'm going to be able to save it or be able to stick it down into place. So the only really option I have is to remove the whole lot of it. So it's coming off so easily, so the job isn't that bad. There's some bits that are really stuck down, and that's probably where the glue was. So I'm just going in with a chisel and I'm peeling that back. and I'm just going to remove the whole top piece of the veneer. The two side pieces and the front are fine, and on the drawers there's only small little areas where it's like chipped, maybe at the edge. The veneer has chipped, but the rest of it is like stuck on. It doesn't need. It's not going to be removed, and it doesn't need to be removed. So I'm going to leave that on, and I'm just going to peel back the top section and take off everything, and then sand it back with a fine sandpaper. So I'll probably go in with a 120 and then build up to a 150. So you can see here, it's coming off really, really easy. It's just coming off in slices with an odd piece that's sticking down. Then I wanted to see how I could take the top lip off. So I took out all the drawers and I had a look inside in the piece. And I found a little friend. But when you're working with old furniture, you just have to get used to cobwebs and spiders, and then you get used to it. Inside where that little lip is on the very top of the piece, I thought there was a screw holding it together, but there doesn't seem to be a screw. So when I looked closer in, I can see there's no screw, so it's probably a dowel because I can see a bit of wood there. And then I just went in with my chisel and I chiseled very gently and pried out the top part to reveal that the dowel was underneath. I thought this would come out easy, but it didn't. So I tried to get it out with the pliers. I tried loads of little bits, and I thought it was coming for a little while, but it wasn't. It's really wedged in there. So the only other option to take out the dowel was to saw it off, and I have the perfect little saw for this, which is a Japanese style pull saw. So I can cut off the dowel flush with the top part, and then I can like sand it back and fill in any areas that need to be filled, and you wouldn't know it's there. And then I just went back in and removed any of those last little bits of veneer that were left behind before I started sanding. And then I just went in with a 150 grade sandpaper. I went with the grain, and any areas that were left behind, any of the veneer that was left in any way, I just got the chisel to remove it. Then I removed the legs, which were tough enough to remove. I always recommend when you're removing any old screws or anything like that from a piece of furniture that you do it by hand and not with an electrical screwdriver, because sometimes it's way easier to like erode the head. It makes it really difficult. And sometimes they can snap and that. So the best way to do it is by hand, as tedious as that can be sometimes. So I just removed all the screws. Those are also one in the middle, kind of holding the one side of the legs together, and then it was stuck with a little bit of glue, so I went in with a chisel just to pry it up and ease it up a little bit, and they came off very easily. So even though I'm putting new furniture legs on this, they're actually old legs from a different piece, and I will keep the legs that I took off from this for another piece at another stage as well. So that's the kind of beauty of removing the furniture legs. You can use them on different pieces because they can be quite expensive to buy. Then when I removed the drawers as well, I wanted to take off the handles because I'm going to change these handles. So there's a little cap at the back of where the screw is. So I just popped it off with a flathead screwdriver and then removed the screw and the handle. Any of those little chippy bits from the veneer that were around the edge of the drawers, I filled with a 2-part filler. So the 2-part filler dries a lot stronger than the normal like premix filler that you'd use. When I'm doing the handles as well, I just make sure that I'm pushing the filler down into the old hole of the handle, because I'm going to be putting new handles on this. And it comes with that small little squidgy as well inside in the filler pot, and use it for mixing and for applying the filler. So I'm just popping it in and scraping off any of the excess filler, and then I'm going in with an orbital sander with a 120 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to scuff the surface. So all the wood that I want to paint, I'm going to scuff it. And make sure as well that you do like the fronts as well. So these are the little dividers in between the drawers. So I want to make sure that I'm sanding all of those, and you sand so that when you prime, your primer will stick onto your piece of furniture better. It's always really important to sand. And then with those kind of more awkward areas, I'm going and hand sand those. So just with a little bit of sandpaper, I'm going to go in, fold it in, and just get into those like awkward areas. Because if I went in here with a sander, I'd erode all that detail. When the filler is dry, you can just go in and sand it all back flush. I usually leave it overnight. And then I'm going to go in and I'm going to hoover all the dust. So all the dust from sanding, all the cobwebs. I'm going to clean down absolutely everything. And make sure as well that you're hoovering the surface that you're working on too, because you don't want to leave down a brush and then it pick up dust and then you're painting that back into your piece of furniture. So it's your prep is the most important part of any painted furniture project. And I would hoover all inside the drawers, all the outside, underneath, the whole lot. Just with a brush attachment on your hoover, just make sure that you're removing every bit of dirt and dust. And then I'm going to go in with a small brush and I'm going to paint all the kind of awkward detailed areas. And then for the larger areas, I can go in with a roller. But I used the Crown's Fast Flow Quick Dry Primer Undercoat for this. It's one of my go-to primers. It sticks really well, like it welds onto everything. So when I have a layer of this on, I don't really have to worry that it's ever going to scratch off. It's a really good primer and great coverage. And then for the larger areas, I'm going in with the Two Fussy Blokes rollers and I'm using the smooth roller. They're the best rollers you could ever get your hands on. They really like speed up all your painting time. I absolutely love them. Since I started using them, I just cannot use another roller because they're inferior. So if you are ever wondering should you pick one up, I would highly, highly recommend picking them up. They're really, really good. And with the top part as well, the way we took off the veneer, there was glue on there, we sanded it back. After this layer of primer, I might go in with 150 grit sandpaper and give it an overall sanding again, just to make sure that there's no imperfections or anything like that on it. And when I've like the whole surface area rolled, I go back over it like this just to make sure that there's no like ridge lines from where the rollers lines would have overlapped. So just a quick like little tip up afterwards. You can see here as well, so after the layer of primer dried, you can kind of see a bit of a bleed through. And that can happen actually quite regularly with old furniture. It's like maybe the stain underneath has soaked through and you're better off blocking it. So I'm going in with a blocker here from Crown as well. If you don't block it, no matter how many times you paint it, it'll always seep through. So you're better off using a blocker to try and stop it, and then you can just paint over that then like normal. So you can see it better here on the side of the piece as well. So on the top piece, I just give it a quick sand and I'm going in with my first layer of quick dry satin. And I'm using a colour called White Glove and it's from Crown and I think it's the House and Home collection. And I just think it's a really nice white. You know, sometimes it's hard to get a nice white. But you can see the difference here on the side. That's where all the bleed through came in. So you can kind of see the difference of what it looks like against a painted surface. Once your stain block layer is dry, then you can just go in, paint normally with your quick dry satin, and it won't bleed through and it'll be totally fine. I'm going to use Danish oil on the drawer fronts because I want to keep the wood look and I'm going to paint detail over on top. So Danish oil can also act like a primer. It like will nourish the timber and feed the wood as well, but it also acts as a primer. So I can put a layer of paint on top of this and it can act as a primer. So that'll be perfect for when I'm doing my small details. And I used Danish oil on my rocking chair project. So I'm going to link that in the description if you want to have a look at that just on how to use Danish oil. For the drawer fronts, I'm going to get the exact middle spot and then once I get the middle spot I can work my way around that. So I'm just measuring here what the middle of the drawer is and I'm going to do it in 3 points so that when I draw a line they all join up and it's right directly in the middle and it's not going to go off. So I'm just going to draw these line up. I'm going to do it in pencil because I'm going to be painting over most of this surface anyway with the pattern. So when I'm putting on the new handles, I'm going to have to put 2 screws in to match up exactly onto these 2 points because if I'm a little bit off they won't go through and the handle won't go on. So I put a little bit of painter's tape on the back and I use a pencil and just punch a hole exactly where the 2 screws are going to come through. So I need to drill holes exactly where these 2 holes are on the tape. So I always fold it in half because I have my little middle spot here on the drawer. So I'm going to fold it in half and put a little pencil line there so that I can match that up with the little mark that I have on the center of the drawer. So I can always, this is just kind of like my reference point to make sure that I don't go off. And then when I pop that down, I try and line up the holes so that I can see the line right in between. So this tape is brilliant because it's kind of see-through, so you can kind of see where the line it lands. So I need to make sure that the 2 screw holes are on that line so that the handle is going to be level and where I drill is going to be in the right position. Make sure that your drill bit is the same thickness as the screws that are going in, and make sure that you've switched it to drill mode on your drill. And then just you make sure that your drill is straight when you're drilling into the piece of wood, and you just drill the hole exactly in the position where the mark is on the masking tape. And then I do the same to the other side. So the design I'm going to do here, I'm going to start in the middle. So I'm going to draw a little curve close to the center line, and I'm going to start in at the corner. So I'm just doing this with pencil, and the paint will cover this line. So I usually try and take things section by section. So I'll just draw up until the middle part section first before I go over to the other side. And then I want to do the same pattern on the other half of like my little section of the drawer, let's say. So again, I'm just going from the corner up to that little middle line that I've drawn, and the same across the other side. So this will really start off the whole design for me. And then I'm just going to quickly sketch a second line. So there's going to be two kind of semicircles on both sides of the drawer, and then they'll join up with little triangles. So you'll kind of see it better as I go along. So the first thing I'm going to do is just with a little bit of the quick dry satin on my brush, I'm going to follow those 2 lines first, just with a small little brush. I'm not going to worry about getting it perfect. I always feel like if you stress about getting it perfect and every line is equally divided in an equal way, that you don't enjoy it as much, and you're not a factory like. So this is hand done, and I kind of want to make it look like it's hand done as well. And even the lines on the original piece, they look like they've been carved maybe, but they're not perfect. They're not exactly straight. And I think that can sometimes add to it again. So I'm not worried about having it exactly perfect. I'm just enjoying the process and following the line and making this pattern as best I can. So looking at the pattern then on the Anthropologie piece, it's kind of 2 semicircles with stripes in the middle, and then the corners are like kind of like a warped triangle coming in. So I'm just going to mimic that. So I'm just going over the lines with the satin wood paint, and then I'm kind of making them up as I go along. So just trying to keep the same distance kind of in between each paint line so that the wood lines kind of look the same. But again, I'm not worried about this being perfect. I kind of want it to look handmade. So then once I have the 2 corners done, I'm going to do the lines that are in the middle. So from each drawer that I do, I line it up onto the next drawer and try and keep the same lines roughly in the same place as best I can. Again, I'm not going to worry too much about it, but I just don't want it to look too off either. So I'm using the drawer, each drawer that I finished as a guide for the next drawer, let's say. And again, it's just painting straight on with the satin wood paint. I'd always get asked a question as well, do you need to seal this after you've it done? And you don't. So if you're using like a satin wood paint on anything, you don't need to seal it because there's already sealer built into the paint. And it's been primed, but it's been primed with the Danish oil. So it's primed and it's painted, so there's no need to seal it. Unless you were using something like a chalky style paint, you'd have to seal it. but I don't use chalky style paint. I only use satin paint, and just because I think it's easier to clean, and you don't need to seal it. Once I finish that, then I can just pop back in each handle and make sure that it's nice and secure. Then I paint it up, so I'm priming up the furniture legs. So I'll just give these a coat of primer and then a coat of the same colour paint that I have on the rest of the piece. So with furniture legs, so these came off an old piece of furniture. I think I have them about 5 or 6 years. I would often buy a piece of furniture if it was a really good price, maybe just for the legs. So kind of have a look at pieces of furniture maybe that are cheap but they have really nice legs and you can use them on another piece. So these didn't cost me anything, and I love doing that. I love switching stuff around. Then once I have those legs painted, I attach some brackets in underneath on each corner. So these are nice little handy brackets. They're really sturdy. So sometimes as well, brackets can come with the piece. So I took off these old legs, and these were the brackets that were on it. I think it was a footstool that I took them off, and then I can like reuse them onto another project. And if you didn't have them, let's say for some reason, or you misplaced them, they're really easy to get on Amazon as well. So the plates are really handy, and you can get them angled as well in case you wanted the legs to come out at an angle. And then they just screw back in. I did spray a little bit of gold right on the ends as well, to mimic the Anthropologie piece. And there it is. I think it turned out really well. It's really nice and funky, and it is a fraction of the price of the Anthropologie piece. So overall, I think it's a good dupe. I also just added in a little bit of wallpaper inside the drawers just to line the drawers. Again, white and gold to keep it the theme.
Thanks so much for tuning into this week's video. I have planned some more dupe style videos in the future as well. If you have any questions or comments, please just pop them below. Next week's video is a vanity table that I got a few months ago. I thought it was going to be a quick paint job, but once I got into it, I found woodworm, and it was structurally needed a bit of work, so it might be a two-part video. I still am undecided on what colour to paint it.
It's lovely and small. Actually, if you have a colour suggestion, please comment below.